that was my store. And they're saying that somebody called the police and, you know, got these guys arrested. Like, and I'm sitting there like, this is crazy. Like, what just happened? And when they played the 911 call, I heard Holly's voice on the, I'm like, that's Holly's voice on the 911 call. Like, and she called the police just matter-of-factly.
Philadelphia Police, operator 363, how may I help you?
Hi, I have two gentlemen at my cafe that are refusing to make a purchase or leave. I'm at the Starbucks at 18th and Spruce.
All right, please, I'll be on as soon as possible.
Thank you.
You know, people come into Starbucks all the time. That Starbucks, it's a community store. They come in there for meetings all the time. They come in there and don't buy anything all the time. They come in there and use the bathroom, use the Wi-Fi all the time and don't buy nothing. They could come get a cup of water or something like that. But and for you to call the cops on these two, like, it was like, okay, like, I never thought of Holly as racist until I saw that. Like, I didn't even think of filing a lawsuit or anything until I saw that, because now I felt like something was wrong with this picture, like, and something wrong had happened to me that should not have happened. Like, and when I thought the whole thing over, I'm like, all I asked for was for a transfer out the district. And all of this happened to me, and it hurt me so bad. Like, I'm going through a medical condition, a mental health condition now because of all of this. And I'm thinking now that mine was an act of racism. It was. Like, she just did not want me in the store. And when I think about the customers that used to come in there, I remember Mark. Mark is a guy that used to come into that Starbucks at 18th and Spruce all the time and get a grande mocha with non-fat milk. He doesn't go to that Starbucks anymore. He goes to the Starbucks. I started seeing him at 18th and Market. So that means that Mark lives in that neighborhood, but he walks past that Starbucks and goes all the way to Market Street to get his drink. The same thing with another guy, Kevin. Kevin told me he's in the community. He's seen managers come and managers go at that Starbucks. And he told me, he said, she's not for this community. Like, she doesn't really, like, communicate with us or anything. I've seen Holly communicate with other community members that come in there. She knows all about them. She knows where they work at. She knew the guy next door who owned the art gallery that's right next door to Starbucks. She knew a whole lot about white customers. Black customers, we were left to interact with. I'm talking about me, myself, other shifts and other baristas were left to interact with black customers. Holly never really interacted with black customers. It seemed like we made her feel uncomfortable. I've never even had, like, you know how you have, like, conversations with your coworkers and stuff like that? It don't have to be about work all the time. And I understand that you're not there to make friends, you're there to make dollars. But at the same time, we're a coffee shop, which means it's a social job. This is a social job. I've never had a personal conversation with Holly, like, even like a superficial personal conversation with Holly. Everything was about her either complaining about something or something that I didn't do. Holly, I feel like now, like, when I look back at our interactions and me working at the store, I felt like Holly was uncomfortable working around me, and that's what made her get me out of the store. Me asking for a transfer to another district was her way of, like, here's my out right here. I can get her out of my store and I don't have to deal with her anymore. The other stores that I went to all had black employees. They all had black employees. My store, 18th and Spruce, had like one or two other black employees who, again, I say are no longer there, as well as me. And when I look back at all my group selfies with my coworkers and everything, the other partners at that store, it's all white coworkers. I had all white partners that I work with, which is not a problem, because as long as I go into a job, I really don't see color until something crazy starts happening. And so I really never saw color. Like, I talked to my son that week too, and he was like, yeah, females usually don't notice that kind of thing. He was like, but males usually notice it. And I said, I was like one of 3 black employees that worked there, and I was the only one that Holly really worked with directly. Like, the other black employees that were there, they were on another shift, and she was gone by 3 o'clock. Like, they were on the night shift, so she didn't have to interact with them directly. She had to interact with me directly and work with me directly, so she got me out of there. She
it was
wasn't
always
comfortable.
hard to figure out, was it like just an issue with you, or was it an issue with people like you? You never could figure that out?
I never could figure that out while I was there. But now that I'm looking at it and I'm putting two and two together, she just did not, like, I was the one who she came into most close contact with. So I had to go.
Since you were already at the store for like months, talk about the folks that come in the community that comes in there. Like, what do you normally see at 18th and Spruce?
At 18th and Spruce, because it's
all white, all black, what?
mostly white. A lot, like I said, the black community members that came in there, they came in there very sporadically. They didn't sit around and do any of their work there. They left. The white people, they were cool with coming in there, whipping out their laptop and, and all of that. The black people, they just got their stuff and kept it moving. Like, I guess they didn't feel comfortable, and that's what one of them told me, Kevin. He told me he didn't feel comfortable there. So he would get his stuff. He would come in early in the morning before Holly even got there. Like, right after I opened the store, he would come in and get his stuff for him and his partner, and he would just go. Like, and he would talk to me at the counter. Like, I talked to all the people that came in there. Like, I knew them. And like, he's even my friend on Facebook now. Like, and I would talk to him, and he just told me that he wasn't comfortable. He was not comfortable coming in there, and she didn't make the people feel comfortable there.
You have sons, how old?
22 and 25, 24 going on 25.
22 and 25-year-olds, black sons, obviously. So when you saw those two gentlemen being pulled out of there, keep in mind, both of them are 23 years old. They could easily have been your son. How would you react knowing that could have been your kid? So what was your impression?
It's scary. It's scary because, number one, you're in Rittenhouse Square. You already know that that's a prominent part of the city. That's where people have money, and, and being a black person and the cops are called on you and you're in that section. It's like someone said to me that, they once heard, when you're asked to leave, just leave, but at the same time, if you just leave, this issue is still going to be pushed under the carpet. Like, it would have never been exposed. If they would have just walked out, and when she told them to leave, or when she asked them to leave, or however it happened, this would have never been exposed. It was like, why do they have to leave? They're not doing anything. What are they doing that's so bad that you want them to go right now?
As a parent, though, would you have wanted your sons to leave?
No, stay right there. Stay right there and wait for the cops, even though it's scary. Even though it's scary because, like I said, the section of the city that you're in, the store that you're in right there is scary. Like, I know that one of the young men said that once the police were called, he feared for his life. I would fear for my son's life as a parent if that happened to them. Like, so I totally understand, like, how they felt. It's fear. You don't know once the police take you out, in this day and age and everything that's going on as far as racism and, police and all of that, you don't know what's going to happen once you get outside and once you get into the car or whatever. You don't know what can be said that they could say that you did or anything. There are good cops and there are bad cops, just like there are good people and there are bad people. Like, so I would have feared for my son's lives, and I would expect them to be fearful too. So these young men had the right to be, afraid once that happened.
All right, and you've been there, you did Starbucks almost 2 years. At any time in 2 years, had you ever seen someone have you ever had to call the cops on someone to escort them out?
People who were not in their right state of mind, that would be the only, like me. For instance, like, I have called the police on people that were there, and they were probably like the transient population. Like, I've worked in social work as well, like before Starbucks. So, you can kind of tell when somebody is not right mentally and you don't want them to come in disturbing the other customers. So I've called the cops on people who were clearly not in their right state of mind. They, and they were disturbing the other customers, and they were walking around begging and asking for change. So I've asked them to leave. They don't leave, and I call the police and let the police go ahead and handle their business. But as far as someone just being in there not ordering anything, like, people come in there and have meetings every day. People come in there and wait for people every day. It's like, a key part of the city. Like, it's a store right there. So if you're asking somebody to meet you, this could be like, a point where they can meet you at right there. Just sit there and wait for them. It's a safe place. You don't have to wait outside.
Had Holly ever done that on your watch? Have you ever seen her call the cops on somebody?
I've seen her call the cops on people. Black people. No. No.
So how would that go down?
I'm not calling the cops. She's calling the cops. And of course, the cops just escorted them out. It wasn't a big deal. Nobody said anything. But like I said, if you don't say anything, if you don't make a big deal out of it, this was an issue that was like pushed under the cover. Like, she called the cops. And
Do you remember how many times you saw her do that before?
probably twice. But one of the people were actually not, in
Not
their,
there.
not
But
in
the other
their right
one
state
is
of
just
mind.
like, you have to leave because you didn't buy anything, or what was the reasoning?
They were just sitting there.
Okay.
They were just sitting there by themselves. So
And that was enough?
it's enough for her.
Okay.
The first time I ever met Holly, I was at 16th and Walnut. She was in training to become a manager. I didn't know that she was going to be the manager of 18th and Spruce, which really didn't bother me at all, because I didn't have any problems with Holly at 16th and Walnut. She came in there every now and then to work with the manager there because she was a manager in training, what they call MIT. But in April 2017, I was told that I would be going back to 18th and Spruce to work directly under Holly as an opening shift again, because that's what I was hired for, to open. And I was fine with that. I went back around to 18th and Spruce, and I was the first week or so, I was kind of juggling between 16th and Walnut and 18th and Spruce. So I was the opening shift for 16th and Walnut a few days, and for 18th and Spruce a few days. The second week I went full-fledged back over to 18th and Spruce. A lot of the workers there, the shifts there, were complaining about Holly. They would have side conversations about her and everything, but I just wanted to work with her myself, because people can, have their own, judgment of somebody, and, mine might not be the same. So I just wanted to, get my chance to work with Holly. Working with Holly, I found that she was very critical. She was very kind of OCD-ish, looking for stuff that, probably wasn't wrong in the store, but she was like looking for stuff that was wrong. If anything was out of place, she would become like, a little hysterical. One time I remember I ordered an extra sleeve of cups, and ordering that extra sleeve of cups, Holly kind of hit the ceiling, and she gave me this whole speech and everything, and told me that she would have to write me up for ordering the extra sleeve of cups. And I don't think that she was getting the response out of me that she wanted out of me, because she got a little upset. Like, she got teary-eyed. Like, she became really upset, like, the crying and everything, which I had heard from other co-workers that she gets emotional. I was told that she was too emotional, and
They say she got emotional quickly?
yeah, she got emotional really fast, and that's what I found with me and her in the back talking about that extra sleeve of cups, and me not becoming upset with her. Like, it was like she wanted me to be physically or visually upset, and I just told her, I said, Holly, you don't have to do what you got to do for yourself. If that's going to make you feel better to write me up for an extra sleeve of cups, then that's what you're going to have to do. And she told me that I was scaring her because I sounded like her manager. It sounded like something that her manager would say to her. You got to do what you got to do. And I was like, well, I'm not going to become upset because of a extra sleeve of cups. Like, that's not who I am. Like, but if that's going to make you feel better to write me up, then go ahead and write me up, because it's nothing major.
But
like,
your
I don't see.
supervisor literally said you're scaring her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever ask her to elaborate on why am I scaring you?
No. Mm-mm.
And she likened you to whom?
Paul Sykes.
Paul is also a black man, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was like my first like real encounter with her. Like, it seemed like it was petty, but at the same time she was crying, so it was emotional. So I don't know how serious it was for her, but it was not serious for me. I guess it was serious enough for her to write me up an extra sleeve of cups that we were going to use anyway, but whatever. But, during the time of me working there, like, it was a few things that went along, like her asking me what was I doing between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. And I guess she wanted me to give her like a blow-to-blow, minute-to-minute of everything that I was doing. And I told her, Holly, I'm not going to do that. Like, you're back here in the office. You can look at the cameras. The cameras are right here. You're not on the front line with us, but you can see what's going on the front line. So you want me to detail to you what I've been doing, blow by blow, like from 12:30 to 12:40, I was grinding coffee. I'm not going to do that for you, Holly. I'm not a little kid. Like, if you want to know that, You can go to the cameras and look at the cameras. And she seems like she was kind of taken aback by me saying that to her. And I'm like, you know, it is what it is. I'm not a little kid. I'm not going to, you know, give you a blow-by-blow explanation of what I was doing. And working around Holly was like walking on eggshells as well. And that's when I decided that I probably needed to go. So one weekend I was down in University City and I talked to one of the managers at a Starbucks down there who actually needed an opening shift. And I asked him, you know, would it be okay if I, you know, put in a transfer and, you know, come? He told me, fine, just have your manager call me. That Monday, I got into my place at 18th and Spruce, and when Holly came in at 7 o'clock, which is what she normally did, I came in at 4:30. She came in at 7, and I asked her, you know, about a transfer to 34th and Spruce because in the wintertime, I'm not going to feel like coming all the way to Center City. Is closer to my house. You know, it's more convenient. And she was like, sure, we could talk about that. Like, all you have to do is put in the, you know, transfer form and everything. So I did the transfer form. I left it on the desk for her. The next day I came in, which was a Tuesday, and she asked me, she said, Cash, can we talk about what you asked me yesterday? And I said, yeah, that's good. So I thought that she was going to ask me for that manager's number and, you know, we could possibly get this transfer started. And she told me that she wasn't comfortable transferring me as a shift. And that also she, as far as transferring me as a shift, she would not transfer me as a shift, but she would also demote me to a barista, which meant my pay would go down by $2. And she's moving me to 18th and Market. She would be moving me to 18th and Market, a store that I didn't even know existed until she said it out of her mouth. And I didn't even know the manager around there or anybody who worked around there until I went around there. So she was transferring me to 18th and Market. She was demoting me from a shift lead to barista, which I had worked as a shift lead for probably almost a year. And she was not, you know, she was not going to transfer me to 13th and Spruce. And when I asked her why, she said that she just didn't feel comfortable sending me over or transferring me as a shift. She felt like I wasn't ready. So I told her, that's, you know, if that's how you feel, like I'm like the worst supervisor ever and you have to, you know, demote me down to a barista and you don't want to send me over there. I was like, you know, that's fine, but I need to have a meeting with you and Paul. And she told me that that's fine, but Paul was on vacation for the next week and a half or so. And so that I would, you know, that meeting could happen after he came back off of vacation. The next day I came in, which was a Wednesday, and she asked me did I have my decision. And she told me, I think this is something that I failed to say before. She told me that she asked me what was my decision, and she told me, she said, well, you can stay here as a shift, but I'm going to have to write you up for everything.
Everything like?
I don't even know.
She didn't say
anything that happens. Anything that happens, I'm going to have to write you up. If anyone was to pull my employment record from Starbucks, there's nothing on it. It's clean. Like I've never did anything. So besides the extra sleeve of cups, that would probably be the only thing that should be on my nothing else. Like I've never been written up or called to the carpet for anything. Or I can just, you know, take the demotion and go around to 18th and Market. And my thing was, do what you got to do for your schedule, because obviously you want to do your schedule for next week and you don't want me on it. I'm looking for a new job at this point because my hours were being lowered and my days were being lowered as well, and I wasn't even making enough to live on. So I didn't even want to talk to Paul at that point. It was just like I'm in the middle of some pettiness, you know, something that I don't even understand what's going on, and at this point, since it's going this far, I just want out. That was stressing me out. It was stressing me to the max. On my days off, like I had so many days off, like I wasn't working the weekends, and then they were giving me days off during the week. So it was like those times I would just actually just lay in the bed and the TV would be on, and it got so bad where I had insomnia, where I couldn't sleep at all. Like I would have to get up by 3 a.m. so that I can get to work by 5 a.m. just to get myself together and everything. And it was a chore just getting myself together. I've never felt like that in my life. If anybody has ever suffered with anxiety, like my prayers go out to them, because I've never had to deal with that insomnia and anxiety, like hand in hand. Like I don't, oh my God. Like I would just lay in the bed sometimes and just cry and be like, why can't I go to sleep? Like I can't even go to sleep. My doctor has me on medication right now for my insomnia and for my anxiety and depression. Like I've never been on any medication. Like I'm not even a pill popper. So me having to, you know, remember to take pills every night, like is just a chore in and of itself. And that all started back in July, like going back and forth into the hospital. I have so many hospital bills, it's not even funny. Beginning of July 2017 until March 2018 when I found a new job. Meanwhile, while I was there, my hours were decreased and my days were decreased. I went from 5 days a week, 35 hours a week, every 2 weeks, 35 hours every 2 weeks to 3 days a week and 19 hours every 2 weeks. So by the time I left in March, I was down to 3 days a week and 19 hours. So I had to go because it was actually putting me at risk for becoming homeless. It was putting me at risk for losing a lot of things, like, so, and not being able to take care of my responsibilities at home. So I had to find another job and move on. So March 2018 was my last time at Starbucks.